looks like folks are jumping in at a rapid pace, so it looks like we're right on schedule here. So again, I'm going to welcome you all. My name is Paul DeCoste, by the way. I'm the Regional Sales Director with Avantus. Joining me today as a co-presenter is Erik Janeczko. Erik is the head coach and CEO at Maximum Acceleration. And hopefully you can hear me. So I'm going to ask Erik to jump in and say a few words, and hopefully you're going to be able to hear him as well. And what we'd ask you to do, if you could, is just use the chat function on your screen to type us a note and say, hopefully, guys, yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. And so if Erik, if you wouldn't mind jumping in, that'd be great.
Yeah, guys, it just, you know, the chat and Q&A function is the best way to interact with me and Paul as we go through today's program. We want to field questions. We want to be interactive with you guys and get you as much value as possible. So if you could, guys, just post in the chat. Let us know if you can hear us loud and clear, both me and Paul. Make sure we got the audio stuff taken care of as we get started here.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, so
comments come through.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll get you, you know, hopefully hearing us, and you'll let us know shortly. We've got a couple loud and clears here, so it looks like we're okay, Erik.
All righty then.
Okay.
Well, like I said, it's you know, one of the great opportunities to share some valuable information, help you know, the industry grow, help you guys that are attending get as much value as you possibly can out of these types of events. Obviously, you know, we all have a tendency to be trying to wrap up that last sales call or waiting that last couple of seconds to get through this sometimes fickle system to get signed in and everything. So we're going to, I guess, we'll get started with the hard program here in just a second, Paul.
Yeah,
maybe another minute or two just for a few more folks to get signed in, and then we'll get ready to roll here.
Yeah, I think so. And you know, just again, just a couple notes. We're going to, I guess, we'll try to keep this presentation to about 45 minutes. We're going to try to save some time at the end to answer any questions that you might have. If we don't get to your questions, if as Erik mentioned, if you could certainly use that the Q&A, the chat box feature on your screen to get us your questions, and we'll be sure to, if we don't have time to get to them all, we'll be certain to either myself or someone at Avantus or Erik or someone at Maximum Acceleration will get back to you after the presentation, and we will not leave any question unanswered. We promise you that. Okay. Cool.
All right. Well, I'd say we're about ready to get going here, Paul. Let's kick this thing off and get this show on the road. What do you say?
Excellent, excellent. I'm ready to roll. Okay, so cool. So listen, so today's webinar is built around the concept of how to rocket your mortgage business, okay? As we are well aware, automation is here in the mortgage industry, not to go away anytime soon. So we're going to focus today on how to survive and compete in this environment. Both Erik and I will discuss 3 simple tools and strategies, okay, that will help you prevent losing business in this automated world, and how to compete with these automated online companies, how to increase or skyrocket, if you will, your business by leveraging technology that will assist you in generating more leads and referrals, and then lastly, but not leastly, if that's a way to put it, at the same time show you how to reduce or completely eliminate your credit costs, and that's a pretty cool concept that we have at Avantus that we'd be happy to share with you today. So, without any further ado, I think we'll get right into it here. So, briefly, what I'd like to do, if I can get my screen to move forward here, is to tell you a little bit about Avantus. Start with, again, introducing myself. My name, again, is Paul DeCoste. I am the Regional Sales Director at Avantus. I've been here for 18 years. Have a total of just over 30 years in credit and lending experience behind me. Okay, and just a little bit about Avantus. Avantus is a 75-year-old company. We do business nationwide with about just under 5,000 clients. We service in excess of 50,000 end users. Those customers that we do business with, those are, you know, both brokers and lenders of all sizes, both large and small, that we deal with on a daily basis. We have at Avantus, we have cutting-edge technology. We own and operate our own system, and we offer all the latest technology that is available in the credit reporting industry today. However, what we feel is our biggest asset is our employees. Our average tenured employee at Avantus has been with us over 20 years. Okay, so as I always like to say, when you push a button and get a 3-file merge credit report, you can certainly get that from anyone, Avantus included. And on those slam dunk loans, it's a piece of cake. However, when you have a problem loan, when you have someone, when you have a borrower who you're having trouble getting closed, and you have a question on a credit score, on a rapid update, on a trade line update, you need to pick up the phone and speak to someone. And who better to speak to than someone who's been doing this, in excess of 20 years. And when you're doing that, when you're getting someone in Avantus, that's who you're going to be speaking with, and that's the type of employee that we have with those 20 plus years experience. So they understand what you need. They get your sense of urgency in closing those difficult loans, and that's who's going to be on the other end of the phone to help you out. Okay. Certainly, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, we are a full-service credit reporting company. We have all of the products that you would need. Certainly, our merge mortgage credit reports, which you can't see by going. You can see samples of our reports by going to our website at avantus.com, which you see over my head, hopefully. Plain, simple English, easy to read credit report. We offer certainly the FICO simulator tool. So again, as I mentioned, on those clients that you're having trouble getting closed, maybe a credit score issue, we have the complete line of credit expert products and service that'll help you out. In addition to credit reports, we have all of the verification tools, such as tax return verification, verification of employment, Social Security number verification. We also do offer flood zone determinations. We actually have a product called Loan Shield, which is our own in-house developed mortgage credit fraud report. And then lastly, which we'll spend the majority of the webinar here today, is a tool that we developed a few years back called startmyapplication.com. That's going to, we're going to talk to you and hopefully show you how Start My App is going to help you compete in this automated environment. So, real quickly, so in looking at getting up or developing Start My App, we recognize that not all of the mortgage business comes from those low rates, comes from low rates and refinancing, and so we developed Start My App in an effort to allow you to become to get more referrals, particularly amongst realtors. Okay, so it's a great tool, makes it easy to connect with realtors, to have the realtors connect with new clients, and actually get that your borrower, their purchaser, qualified before they even look at that first listing. And if you've dealt with realtors, I'm sure that you'll all agree that they like that. They like that concept. So again, we're going to show you how Start My App, SMA.com, as I'll refer to that in short, will give you a competitive edge in your marketplace. Again, virtually eliminate your credit costs, and we all know that's pretty important in today's market. With the cost of credit reports going up, this product will allow you to completely take your upfront credit costs out of the picture. Going to allow you to lock in rate shoppers, and again, the ultimate goal is going to attract more referral business. It's going to get you more leads, and then lastly, what everybody's here for, it's going to help you close more loans in a nutshell. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with that, I'm going to let Erik take over the next portion of the presentation. Kind of hopefully dovetail, what the Start My App can do for you as we move along.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I mean, the challenge, right? You see the commercials on the Super Bowl. You see these companies that are advertising, push button, get mortgage, right? We all know as mortgage professionals that that's not really the way things work. However, the general consumer public, especially the millennial group that are this I know everything and what I don't know I can Google mindset, are easily attracted by the panache and this what seems to be the easy way to go about it. But we also know that there's also this issue of that there's a lot of fear and anxiety on the part of the business development partners and realtors we work with. There's also the issue and the challenge of how do you differentiate yourself as a mortgage professional is if you really are not able to adapt and evolve to embrace technology in some way, shape, or form to now enable yourself to be more competitive and provide that high tech along with high touch approach, is there a possibility you're going to get left behind? And some of this comes back to kind of what happened to the insurance industry in the 80s and the financial planning and investment industry in the 90s, when online trading platforms came out like E-Trade. Why should you pay your broker $200 a trade when you can go on E-Trade and get it for 10? And why would you pay 200% more for the same transaction virtually? And so one of the things that we're going to share with you today is some quick ideas, some hard-hitting elements that are going to help you dramatically increase your purchase business, leverage technology to be able to accelerate that business development growth to levels double, triple, quadruple your current production over the next 12 to 24 months, and leveraging a tool and resource that allows you to not only compete but win when going up against Rocket Mortgage, those online robot mortgage companies. And the more and more those proliferate themselves, the more important this is going to become a vital necessity in your business, not just a convenience. It's kind of like websites became as we went through the 90s and 2000s, right? It was a cool, snazzy thing to have in 2001. Now you're not a real professional if you don't have a decent looking website, right? And so what we look at and what we do in these types of perspectives, the first thing that we want to think about is step one is how do we differentiate ourselves when it comes to, for example, the real estate community? How do we embrace and provide value to them in a way that allows them to do substantially more business? Now, part of this comes down to a little concept that I wanted to share with you, which is what does it really mean to be a true partner when we start thinking about referral partners or business development partners? Well, the best way I've ever found to explain this is to think about the horsepower studies, right? Turn of the last century, there was a group of scientists trying to figure out a unit of weight and force for a large amount of pull. And so they were doing weight sled testing with horses. They figured out that one horse by himself could pull about 12,000 pounds. The only challenge is when they tried to scale the study up and they got two working together pulling in the same direction, the record is over 104,000 pounds of pull, or roughly 8 times the results of one pulling by himself. Now, how does that play out when you look at the typical realtor and loan officer relationship? Well, let's just talk about ballpark averages. Full-time professional real estate agent, full-time professional loan officer generating around 15 or so purchase leads a month. If they were able to equally share those leads and get a 100% handoff rate, you'd still only be looking about 30 deals. But if they were able to leverage each other's strengths and create that synergy that you see happening in the horsepower situation, it could be as much as potentially 120 leads a month. And so what we're going to talk about today is how you get as close to that 120 leads a month as possible by being cooperative and creating that synergy and leveraging the technologies that you have the ability to leverage that create that kind of dramatic growth. And by the way, some of you may think I'm totally crazy here, but let me ask you to challenge yourself to ask if it was possible, what would it look like? Because I can guarantee you, and I've had the privilege and honor of working with dozens of originators over the last 15 plus years I've been doing this full time, that are doing that and more in lead volume and generation with the business partners that they work with. And we'll introduce you to some strategies that will help you do it. But let's take a step back, though, and first answer the question, how do we attract their attention, right? Because the very first and most important question most realtors have is, why should I work with you, right? Out of the dozens, if not hundreds of loan officers in your market, how do you separate or differentiate yourself, right? Well, the problem that most loan officers have is most of us have developed a pattern and a habit of focusing really on just the ability to close one loan, right? How fast, how accurate can we do the pre-qual? How well do we communicate throughout the transaction? What quality of service experience does the customer walk away with? And the problem is if 99 out of 100 loan officers promise the same thing, and at some point in the past, some other loan officer has promised it and failed to deliver it, and the realtor is suffering from that pain, are you really elevating or deflating your credibility when you pitch the same thing that everybody else is? And even if you are the one out of 20 or 1 out of 10 who actually do the job right, does that really truly differentiate you at first point of contact? And does it answer the question, why should I work with you? The other thing we have to think about in the dynamic of how people shop differently today than how they shopped 15 to 20 years ago is think about, how does a buyer start looking to buy a home, right? Particularly your younger generations, right? They don't go to a realtor and spend an hour on the phone with them talking about different properties in the market anymore like they used to 20 years ago when I first got in the industry. Now they get online and they Google, 3-bed, 2-bath home Somewhereville, Illinois or whatever. And, from there, then it drags them all these property websites that they have to enter the name, address, and phone number to get any relevant information about the properties available. And they're seeing all these banner ads for all these different mortgage companies scattered all around those property websites. Well, the problem with that is, one, how many of you as originators have the presence and the ability to be able to put up one of those banner ads and get at least similar layer of visibility? The second element of that is, when the buyers are going to those websites, they're getting hammered minute after minute after minute with get pre-qualified. So now the dynamic of it is that 9 out of 10 buyers typically, statistically, are pre-approved before they talk to the agents. Which means when it comes to an agent introducing you as a mortgage professional, likelihood is that agent has to have enough confidence and belief in your value that they'll take the risk of potentially losing a customer to introduce you versus the robot mortgage they're already pre-approved with. And so part of that is that dynamic of differentiating yourself to the business partners. So the first step we got to think about is, are we a vendor or are we an advisor? Right? Are we just the guy on the corner selling hot dogs, one meal that you're not going to develop a relationship with? You're only good as your last deal, and if it gets messed up along the way, well, bye-bye relationship, at that point, right? Or are we really, at the end of the day, it comes back to this one basic concept of what assets and resources can we provide that's going to help that agent do substantially more business? I mean, for example, I don't necessarily want to be the guy who helps them get the deals done. At the end of the day, that's the basic job requirement. I want to be the guy who helps them do substantially more business in the coming months and years. The asset, the irreplaceable asset that they feel like they can't afford to not introduce to their customers because they feel like it's going to cost them opportunities. So I don't want to be the guy who just helps them get their deals done. I want to be the guy who helps them get a lot more deals. And so I'm going to introduce you to a couple of key concepts of how this works. Well, one of them is also being a resource and support provider. One of the best ways we know of differentiating ourselves is being kind of the running buddy or the coach, if you will. I mean, think about the top performers in the sports world. The Michael Jordans, the Wayne Gretzky's, the Tom Brady's of the world. What do they all basically have in common, right? Well, they all basically had somebody who cared as much about their own success as they did, and in some cases more so than they did. That person that would encourage them, that would challenge them, that would pick them up when they'd fall down, that would convince them or coerce them, and in some cases influence them to take that extra effort to put in that extra next bit of performance so they got better results. So when you really think about being a true business development partner with your agents to go out and find more families that need and want your help to be able to improve their living situation, we become sort of a running buddy or accountability partner. So what are the key elements of doing that? Well, first of all, you've got to have trust. You've got to be the source of great knowledge, right? And if you're fairly new to the business, by the way, there's some great resources online through blogs and websites that talk about how to build a successful real estate practice much faster. And more importantly, by working with them and leveraging tools and technology that enable them to be more efficient in their process, more effective at how they manage their client flow, what they do and do spend their time on that's profitable, and what they eliminate or delegate to you that is lower payoff to them, you can create massive increases in productivity and profitability by helping them in that respect. And Start My Application is a powerful tool to helping you do that. You also the person that they can kind of spitball ideas with and bounce masterminds ideas off of. Like, for example, one of the most successful origination and marketing strategies that I ever did and that my clients have duplicated over the years is when I was originating, I had an agent, a realtor by the name of Kay, and an insurance agent who was a friend of hers by the name of Linda. And both Kay and Linda were fairly new to the market. It was right outside the gates of a military base, and they had just been transferred into the area recently in the acquisition of their business. So both of them were trying to, and we were just kind of having a coffee around a conference table trying to figure out how to help them get that little kickstart of getting a foothold in the market. And we started coming up with the realization that, one, Linda, the insurance agent, didn't really know any of her customers and was likely to lose one particular segment of that customer base. She had bought an Allstate agency in the market, right? So she had 800 to 1,000 customers who were auto-only policyholders. And as good as insurance companies do at cross-selling home and auto, you get where I'm going with this, right? 80% of those auto-only policyholders are non-homeowners. So brainstorming with Linda and Kay, we put together a series of educational, informational, and client appreciation events that were very social in nature, but had an educational theme to them that was designed to engage those customers and get those customers thinking about the benefits of ownership versus renting and what that would do for them in their financial future. Well, over the course of the next 18 or so months, we helped roughly 40 families convert from renting to owning, and everybody was wildly happy as a result of that project and campaign. So it's being that resource, that sounding board, that accountability partner, which also comes back into the keeping them on track. That initiative never would have happened if, and there were times I wanted to quit, there were times Linda wanted to quit, and there were times that Kay wanted to quit and bug out. But because we had that synergy and commitment to each other, that running buddy concept, we kept going and we made it happen. Well, if we had had tools like Start My Application, guarantee you, one, I could have gotten through that project with a lot less pain and anxiety, a lot less heavy lifting from manually doing a lot of the workload of finding out what those borrowers did or didn't qualify for, and then we can create a significant increase in leverage and volume. So really when it comes down to step 3, when it comes to partnering with business development partners like realtors, financial planners, insurance agents, CPAs, family law attorneys, or any of these other business categories that we can leverage that are interacting with families all the time when their housing needs are changing, we can add massive value that goes so far above and beyond the cost or benefit of closing one loan that we become that irreplaceable asset the agents feel they can't afford to do business without. And they will take the initiative to go ahead and introduce us even to those buyers that are pre-approved with a competing lender or broker. And so here's a couple of quick snapshot things that you can do. One is how the agent spends their time, and how to help them understand the value of their time and be more proactive in the utilization of their time, having a faster and more efficient system. So why don't we start there with the first idea? Well, we all know that out of every 10 deals we look at or we're asked to pre-qualify, probably only 1 or 2 fall into the ready now bucket. I mean, all their ducks are in a row. They have the 800 FICO, they got plenty of down payment, their income documentation solid, they're good to go. But that's typically only about 1 out of 10, right? The second group are the folks that fall into the questionable bucket. They're right on the fence of a ratio, or they need, they've got some, past drugs or delinquencies on their credit, which is going to put them right at the threshold of whether they're going to be able to make it or not. And maybe we need to take a little more diligence with those folks. We need to more thoroughly document their file, and we need to efficiently get that file down the path to maybe even in the hands of an underwriter before we turn them loose to go shop for property. The third element are the ones that have some hurdles. These are some folks who've got to roll up their sleeves and get some work done to get themselves ready to qualify. Maybe it's paying down debt or saving a little more for down payment or seasoning the income a little bit longer so they cross that year or 2-year threshold kind of thing. But with a little effort and a little encouragement, they can probably get themselves ready in 6 months or so, right? Well, those are all resources that we can leverage when it comes to bringing those buyers back. right? So when you think about how this benefits the agent and how you articulate this to the agent, is say, look, at the end of the day, Mr. Agent, can you really afford to be spending time driving all over town showing a dozen properties to a buyer who's not ready to be competitive when making offers? So let me help you with the filtering front end. Let me help validate and make sure that you're only going out and spending that couple dozen hours with buyers who are really ready to buy and are in that position. Let me take care of everybody else. Let me incubate them. Let me work with them. Let me walk them through how to manage their debt better and improve their credit, and get, if need be, pay down those collections, or adjust the balances on their debt to limits so their scores will improve, or just be more responsible in how they're utilizing credit. And if need be, maybe potentially investigate and get corrected any inaccuracies that are showing up that are negatively impacting their score. Beyond that, there's a third layer to this, which is this whole value of time commitment. So basically what I'm articulating to you guys is this is a basic conversation that you can have with an agent, and this is what we call the value of your time conversation, right? You go out in realtors and you can talk to them about what their time is worth and how much time they're spending on things that aren't really producing results. Well, there's two different versions of this conversation. The one you see on the screen right now is kind of when it's a really more balanced market, or a buyer's market, where you've got plenty of homes on the market, and it just really comes down to how much time do they end up as an agent babysitting a deal if a deal's going through a bozolender.com or a rocket mortgage, not rocket, a robot mortgage, no brain in the box type of situation where they're talking to a different person every time they call, and it's guys or gals who are more or less customer service call center reps making $8 or $10 an hour. Is that who you really want trusting, managing the most important financial decision a family likely ever makes, right? Most agents are not too comfortable with that, by the way. And actually, to be honest, those are the easiest ones right now anyway to get them to refer you. But when those companies figure that out, and when they're actually providing a relatively high quality of service to customers, and they're doing it more efficiently and less expensively, it's going to get a lot harder to compete as a full-time, full-service retail origination mortgage professional, right? Well, the second type of conversation, which is really probably the conversation that you would do more in a tight seller's market, where you've got limited inventory, you've got 3 or 4 offers coming in on every property simultaneously. Those are the times where you want to leverage that. We really need to make sure our buyers are prepared to buy, and that they have a thorough, accurate, and timely pre-approval. And we've got to have some ways to help them get some skin in the game when we're going through some of those first initial steps. Because here's the problem. Buyers want the house. They don't want the loan, right? They want to jump right into that process, and they want to always put the cart before the horse when it comes to that. And that limited property capacity and inventory tends to magnify or accelerate that sense of urgency and that desperation feeling and pressure cooker type car crusher plate environment that we find ourselves operating under sometimes, which can be very unproductive and very challenging from an operational efficiency and personal productivity standpoint. So we want to try and eliminate or reduce that. But the best way to do that is by getting them engaged, and by getting them committing time, energy, and financial resources to doing their deal with us, i.e. me and my business partner as a unit, as a team, earlier in the process. Again, another perfect example over SMA gets them buying their own credit report and getting skin in the game when it comes to doing that loan with you as a lender. Because they'll get a copy of that full report, they'll be able to use that full report throughout the entire lending process, but they only get that if they do that loan through you, which means you've got them. You got your hooks in them. And not only that, your agent has this high level of efficiency in being able to refer the buyer to your website. They can start the application on your website and then very quickly have that level of engagement without a tremendous amount of your time being personally involved either. Especially if you're at your kid's soccer game on a Saturday and all you have is a greasy napkin in your pocket that you blew your nose on 10 minutes ago, right? So, Paul, why don't you share a little bit about Start My Application and a little bit more in detail how this works, and then I'll talk a few more about some of the additional things that we can do with that once we get rolling.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eric. Yeah, and you know, I think, you know, hopefully you folks will agree. I think once you see Start My App, it's a pretty simple concept. You know, we're going to walk you right through what your borrower will actually see, okay? But I believe, you know, that the SMA product, you know, dovetails in nicely with the, you know, with the three items that Eric just talked about. You know, partnering, differentiating yourselves, and certainly adding value. You know, you're gonna add value to what you're able to present to your realtor. Okay, so again, so real quickly, I'm going to walk you through what your borrower would actually see. Okay, so the Start My App process is a pretty quick process. It's going to take maybe 5 to 10 minutes for your borrower, okay, your potential borrower at that point, to actually go through, put in the information they need to receive their own 3-file merge credit report. Okay, it's the same credit report that you would get if you pulled it yourself, so it's perfectly functional. You can take that credit report and do whatever normal underwriting you would do, but it's going to ask them to order it, okay, to pay for it up front, and we're going to give it to them. We're going to allow them to receive it online in a secured environment, and let them print it out if they so choose. So, and before I forget, as I move forward, please, I'll reiterate, if you have any questions whatsoever that come up at any time, please use the chat or the question feature. Pop them in there, and we'll try like heck to get to them. And if not, we'll definitely get you an answer back after the seminar. So this is what it would look like. So we would create for you, for each loan officer, free of charge, okay, a website, their own website. So whether your company had 1 loan officer or 100 loan officers, we create that free of charge for you. We put your logo up here. We allow you to put in here your customized message, you know, telling, you know, folks a little bit about yourself. It is you know, it can't go on forever because that field is not infinite, but you can put your message there. And then down below on the bottom, we let you put your picture, your LO's picture, certainly your contact number, you know, phone, email, address, NMLS number can go right in there. So this is simply what the landing page would look like. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy to navigate. Really, you know, again, it's a 5-step easy process. So this is what your borrower would see. They would simply click on the Apply Online button, and it's going to take them to the next step in the process. It's going to take them to the where they would input their information. Hopefully, it's going to.
Yeah, and just so you know, guys, as you watch these screen flows, if you have not gone on to one of these robot mortgage websites and actually gone through that experience as a consumer, I highly recommend you actually try that out so you can see how clunky those systems really are and what kind of difficulties a consumer might actually have. It's not as simple as push button, get mortgage, right? And this SMA website, especially from a consumer perspective, is extremely user-friendly. The guys at Avantus have done a great job with really spending time thinking about what is this going to feel like to your borrower. Is it going to be easy enough and frictionless enough that they'll just pop right through it, and instead of getting hung up on a difficult screen or having to find a certain button that's not easy to find, or all those other things that you've experienced when you've tried to do stuff online on other people's websites, right?
Correct. Absolutely, yeah. And you're going to see it's as simple as knowing, you know, really your name, address, social security number, you know, and which hopefully everybody knows. So really, you know, again, so the first screen we take you to, we're going to ask that borrower to create an account. Okay, so essentially, they're going to create an ID and password. And the reason we do that, once they create that, now that after they order and receive their credit report, they can go back to that website at any time with their specific ID and password and view their credit report at any time in the future that they would like to view it. Okay, so pretty simple. They're creating an account. It's an ID and a password. Okay, and so now the next step, the first step, or the second step, I should say. The first step is creating an account. The second step is inputting your personal information. Again, Pretty straightforward. Doesn't take a lot of time. Name, address, social security number, enough for us to get them a credit report, okay? Additional information that we ask for and that we collect for the loan officer is contact information, daytime and evening phone number. Those are required fields. We don't allow that borrower to go forward without filling those fields in. We also will get some additional information in terms of what the loan purpose is. Is it a purchase? Is it a refinance? If it's a purchase, and you don't really see it here, we kind of cut it off down the bottom. You do see the purchase price and the loan amount they're looking for. But what you don't see further on down in that screen is we ask them for the actual address, so the property they're looking to buy, okay? And then finally, another thing that you don't see down here, and this is pretty important, pretty neat process or pretty neat product for you. We ask that borrower to tell you how they heard about you. So ABC Realtor, I was at an open house, I was at a first-time homebuyer show, whatever business partner that referred them to you, you're going to know. They're going to put it in. We're going to collect that, and we're going to give that to you when we send you over the information. So kind of a neat value add there for you as the loan officer, okay? So again, they put in their personal information. The step number 3, quite simply, is how they're going to pay for the credit report. Again, remember, as we mentioned earlier, this is going to eliminate your upfront credit costs. So we're requiring that borrower, that potential borrower, to actually pay for that. We're going to give it to them. We're going to give them the 3-file merge credit report with their FICO scores, but we're going to ask them to put, as Eric said earlier, some skin in the game. Hey, we're going to ask you to pay for the credit report. So quite simply, that's the next screen they will see. They will put in their credit card information, and they'll click on next, and that's pretty straightforward. And that's going to bring them to the next step, which is step number 4, which basically is asking them to confirm the order, okay? And we're going to get there eventually. Hang on. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So really, what this page brings you to is a couple things. So we're right here showing them all of the information they've already input. Okay. So they can see what they've input: their name, their address, their social security number, contact information, income, loan purpose, property address, and then over here we're going to say we're going to ask them to review that. If anything there is not correct, they can go in and edit it. They simply click on that hyperlink. They can edit that information. Same thing with the payment information. Here's the payment information I've input. If anything is not correct or I want to change it, we're going to give them the ability to go in there and edit that. So quite simply, that's what that is. Now, the last piece, they need to confirm and submit, and this is pretty important. This box here, okay, because understand this credit report that they're ordering is a hard inquiry credit report that's pulled with you, Mr. or Mrs. Lender or broker's end user code, okay? So it's just as if you pulled the report yourself. You're able to go forward and do whatever you would normally do with that credit report. However, they need to give you they need to acknowledge and give you permission to pull that credit report. By checking that box, that's what they're doing, okay? So by checking that box, I'm giving you, ABC Mortgage Company, permission to pull my credit report, review it in connection with a mortgage loan application. So there you go. So I've hopefully agreed to that. I'm going to check that box. I'm going to confirm and submit. And then what happens, and this is really the last piece of the puzzle before we let them view it, before we're allowed to give somebody access to the credit report that they've ordered online, we're going to make sure it's them, okay? So what we're doing is we're verifying their identity, okay? So once they click on confirm and submit, what happens is, as long as their credit card is good, we're going to pull their 3-file merge credit report in the background, okay? And we're going to come up with 3 challenge questions based on what's on their credit report that they need to answer correctly in order to view it. If any of you have ever been on to annualcreditreport.com, that's the three credit repositories, TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax's website. This is the same technology that they use when you order your consumer disclosure. They pull your credit report in the background. They ask you multiple choice questions based on what's on your file that you need to answer correctly to view it. So quite simply, hopefully, you know what's on your credit report and you answer those three challenge questions correctly. You click on submit and there you go, bingo. You've got access now to that credit report. Okay, you can see your actual real FICO scores, not interpretations of the FICO scores. Okay, and then in terms of we give some extra value add here. In terms of we tell you, there's some hyperlinks here to check out your rights under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, learn a little bit more about FICO scores. Also, click on here to learn if how you can go about disputing anything that you feel is inaccurate on your file. And then lastly, and always, we always end with the loan officer's information. So if you have any questions about your mortgage credit report and your application, please reach out to Joe Salesman here. There's the phone number. He can certainly help you out with the process. And then as soon, as that happens, so as soon as that borrower orders their credit report, you, Mr. or Mrs. Loan Officer, immediately get an email notification that looks exactly like this. Hey, guess what? Nikki Green here just pulled their credit report under your Start My Application website, okay? It's in your system. You would simply click on that hyperlink here. That brings you right into our system. You're able to view Nikki Green's credit. Again, it's in you can do whatever you would normally do with that credit report in terms of underwriting. You can send it to your wholesale lenders. You can send it to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Again, think of it as you pull the credit report yourself. It was initiated in this instance by that borrower, and it's now in your system. So pretty cool. As Eric mentioned earlier, I can be at home watching a football game on a Sunday. My realtor is out having, at an open house. Nikki Green pulls their credit report. Bingo! I've got a free lead in here that I can work on. Sunday night even if I want, or first thing Monday morning. So pretty
absolutely
pretty cool. And that's as simple as it is. I took a little bit more time getting through it, but really, that borrower is going to take about 5 or 10 minutes to bang through it. And aside from you being able to view Nikki Green's credit report, we've collected that additional information that she's input on your site. So
right.
That's as simple as it gets, I think.
Absolutely, guys. Well, there's just a couple more things I wanted to share with you really, really quickly is how you take this to kind of the exponential growth level, 2 turning into 4, turning into 8, turning into 16, 32, and explosive growth from there, is think about, how many leads a month are you getting or leads a week is that business partner going to funnel through to you via their online platform and your online platform, and how many dozens of those leads could be potentially deposits in what I call the bank of future opportunity. Because like we said, it's, and I don't know about you guys as originators, but I worked for an independent mortgage banking outfit most of my origination career. I was constantly competing against the local bank. The local bank is typically where everybody went because that's where they, the great borrowers, the good credit borrowers all went to their depository bank and they walked in and walked out with a mortgage 5 minutes later. I didn't compete with those guys, really. Where I won and where my bread and butter was the deals that weren't going to get a loan from the local bank because the loan officers weren't going to spend the time and energy to help those customers. So when you have a tool that not only gives you the front-end capability of doing that very, very quick filtering that'll help you catch that hot, fast lead when it's at the open house and allow you to then leverage it, the next layer of adding value and creating benefit to your borrowers or your agents, your business partners is, okay, so 2 out of 10 qualify. That's great. I've saved you a lot of time that you're not going to waste on buyers who aren't ready to go yet. But what if I take the 4 out of 6 who could get ready in 6 months or less? I'm going to keep track of them. I'm going to work with them. I'm going to coach them through how to clean up their credit and how to get back on track financially more efficiently and get themselves into a qualifying position, and then I can bring them back to you. and help you make those withdrawals from that deposit bank of future opportunities. Avantus has some really good tools, and we don't have time to go into it in great depth now, but they also have some really powerful tools with a what-if simulator and a tool that will suggest for the borrower as they're doing that initial thing, what are some things they could do to adjust their credit management habits to improve their scores a little bit. Beyond that, it becomes sort of that incubator effect, and when we're working with coaching, the dozens of deals that are coming through per month that that aren't quite ready to go yet, just think about how that stacks up. The last thing that we want to do is when we create a really high touch, high tech approach, and the combination of the two, what does that do as far as real estate and as far as repeat and referral customer opportunities? Because a lot of the research that's gone into, especially the millennial marketing and what that age group wants, which by the way in the next 2 years will outstrip the buying power of the baby boomer generation. There are 68 billion baby boomer or 68 million millennials in the United States today, and so what's going to happen is as this transition comes in, a lot of the research shows that the millennials really, they want to start with sort of this do-it-yourself mentality and Googling everything, but when it comes really down to making the hard decisions, they want to be able to have somebody they can trust and hold accountable. And that's where having the benefit of a tool like Start My Application, which gives you that front-end efficiency, high-tech, easy user experience, combined with your ability to now provide that back-end high value and high quality, high touch counseling, consultation, sharing with them what they may not necessarily be thinking about that could hurt them, what we don't know can hurt us type concept. And then leveraging that with your business development partners like realtors, creating that front-end visibility online for you and your company and all those other kind of things. Imagine how powerful that's going to be for increasing the number of repeat and referral business opportunities that you're going to get from each of these customers as you're going into greater depth with each customer, helping them make wiser choices when setting up a mortgage. Because, you got to think about it from this perspective. Can you afford to use short-term thinking on what ultimately is one of the most long-term financial impact decisions families ever make? I mean, let's be honest. Isn't the mortgage what eats up the greatest chunk of their paycheck every month? And it controls for most families what's going to be their biggest asset, which is their home. So it's not just about getting the one house and finding a happy place to live. It's about how that decision and how that mortgage setup is going to affect their ability to do anything else they want to do financially for the next 20 to 30 years. And by offering that additional layer of value and guidance to those customers, how much more impactful and therefore likely that they're going to want to introduce you to their friends and family who are missing out on this incredible housing opportunity. So when you guys start looking at some of the dynamic of all the tools that you can do with Start My Application and with these tools and resources to really dynamically change the nature of relationship you have with realtors in your community, business partners like financial planners, CPAs, insurance agents, etc., this becomes an incredibly powerful tool that really can skyrocket your mortgage business and get you a lot closer to that 120 leads a month. So let's do this. Paul, I don't know if you had a chance to scrub through some of the questions that have been posted in the Q&A. We had some really good questions pop through that I think I would like to spend a few minutes to cover
Sure.
here just really, really quickly. There's one that I did want to cover first, though, which is the one that was most frequently posted, which is how do we get started with this system?
Yeah, that's a great question and one we'd love to answer. So in order to get the Start My Application website created, you would obviously need to become a client of Avantus. How you can do that is there's several ways. You could go to our website, avantus.com. There's a big orange button on our website, on our landing page that says how to become a client. You simply click on that, plug in your information. We'd be happy to, more than happy to respond to you with a proposal and our membership documentation. If you're on the webinar today and you'd like to get that information, again, simply type it into either the chat feature or the question. Give us your information, and we'll get you out a proposal. Somebody from the Avantus team will get you out a proposal probably within 24 hours. And then once you're set up,
guys, those of you that are live on the webinar, just go ahead and post the best phone number and email address for them to contact you and schedule a time to talk in more detail.
Yeah. And then once you're set up, creating that's not my application website URL for you is very simple. We get a couple of pieces of information from you, your logo, your picture, your contact information, and then we take care of all of that for you free of charge. We get you the website back. Make sure you take a peek at it, make sure it's accurate. If anything is there any typos or anything misspelled, let us know. We correct it for you. And that's as simple as that's really as easy as it is to get it set up. And here's the information on the screen. Erik just posted to as our website. Our phone number, our 800 number. But certainly we'd be happy to if you drop us your information on the in the chat box or in the question and answer piece. We'd be happy to get it over to you. It doesn't take us long to get back to you.
And for those of you who are watching this program on a video recording or a video on demand service, certainly you can click next to the place where this is showing up on the web page and hit the become a customer, or go ahead and just pick up the phone and call on in these guys on the 800 number that you see. All right, so Paul, let me circle back to a couple of the questions that were posted here, and guys that are those of you hanging on live here, you had some really good questions. I want to make sure we have time to get to all of them. In this, there were a couple of questions that had to do with the Fed 6 triggering application per TRID and what that means and how this system plays into that. Paul, can you spend a couple seconds just to address that?
Yeah, so a couple things. As far as compliance advice, we certainly always stop short of giving compliance advice. We're not compliance officers, but what we would tell you, just understand that this credit pull, okay, that's happening. Think of it as it's nothing different about that borrower initiating that credit pull than you doing it yourself. Okay, it's pulled with your end user code. It's a hard inquiry. So we always recommend that whatever your policy is when you pull a credit report, yourself, that should be the same policy as when a credit report gets initiated through stopmyapp.com. It shouldn't be any different. So whatever policies and procedures you do when you pull it yourself should really be the same as when it gets pulled through Stop My App. And also part of TRID getting a little bit off subject, but just to always throw in, what we've done with a lot of folks, certainly recently within the last year or so, we can create what's called the bundle price for you. So in other words, you pay one price every time you order a credit report and don't have to worry about any other ancillary charges that are part of the process, whether they be reissue fees, secondary use fees, trended data fees, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac submissions. It makes it a heck of a lot easier on all parties involved to know every time I pull a credit report, I'm going to pay one price and not any additional prices as the process moves along.
Exactly. One of those other things that makes it easier to disclose and those kind of things. And if I'm not mistaken, Paul, you also have the opportunity to, if you need to suppress fields, if the lender wants it set up that way, like you could leave out the property, the estimated property value type thing.
There's some, again, and that's a good point. I mean, because we own our own system, we're not dependent on any third party vendor for any of the functionality within our system. So yes, so the short answer to your question is there is some flexibility in there, absolutely.
Okay. All right. The other big question I saw coming through was the issue about the credit report and why the customer would want to. Well, the two kind of versions of the same question. The first one being, why would they pay for the credit report if they end up getting their credit report free from other places? The second one is really what keeps them stuck to us as a loan officer versus the competitor.
Yeah. Two good questions. The first question, in terms of why they would pay for it versus getting a free one, this is different than that free credit report. This is totally different than that consumer disclosure. That free credit report that you're able to get on various websites on the internet, you can't do anything with that. Okay, this credit report is a real live credit report that your lender or broker has and can actually go through the loan process with it. That credit report that you get on the web. I mean, if you took that and walked into your broker with it, there's really nothing that they can do with that. They're still going to have to pull your live credit report, and for the most part, you're probably not going to have your real FICO scores on there. You're going to get an interpretation of the credit score, which is totally different than what lenders are looking at. Okay, and the second part of that question, I got carried away and I forgot. What was that, Eric?
I think the second part of the question is why would they? What keeps them stuck to us as a loan officer and company?
Correct. So that again, remember that credit report that they're pulling through your Stop My Application website, that's pulled with your specific company's end user code. So they can't take that credit report, well, and they could take it and bring it anywhere they wanted to, but whoever they bring it to cannot do anything with that credit report. Okay, that credit report is specific to your company and can only be used by your company for underwriting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and no different than how you're doing it currently. I mean, once you've gotten them to the point of where they're pulling credit, I mean, I guess technically there's nothing to stop them from going somewhere else other than the fact that they've bought the credit report. And the experience I've seen in watching companies that are using this system already, some of our existing coaching clients and some of the training and consulting firms that I work with, or the mortgage origination companies that I do consulting work for, they find that the customers actually appreciate it because, I mean, especially when you think about, again, what's the nature and mindset of your customer? One of the biggest fears and anxieties, particularly among first-time home buyers, but even among, your second or third-time home buyers who haven't done it for a couple of years with all the doom and gloom and fear that they've heard in the media over the last 10 years, probably the biggest fear and anxiety and stress for a home buyer is, do I qualify? And being able, if I were a consumer and were able to spend the money to actually see my real credit report that's really going to be used for the lending process, I'd be willing to spend the money on it. I know I would, and I, in fact, have a couple of times. The other element that comes along with that is also kind of the education process that you and your business partners engage in when connecting with that consumer right up front. I mean, this is a great training opportunity for, for your lender, your realtor. Well, first of all, if they're not willing to spend the the $18, $20, $25 or whatever for the credit report, are they really that serious about buying? Which is another layer of filtering, which is there's a big warning sign that, Mr. Realtor, maybe you shouldn't necessarily spend time with that buyer until they're willing to take that next step with us. The other element of that from an educational perspective is also the benefit of encouraging them to do it earlier in the home buying process so that they're more engaged, and although it may be a little bit longer between first contact and closing, the level of engagement that we get from that in the early stages of that process is going to keep them with us through that process, which also helps us dramatically reduce the reactivity and pressure cooker environment that the buyers typically try and put us in all the time, which helps. All right, second thing, additional question here, Paul, is there was a couple of additional questions about the cost of the credit report, who pays for it, and how that all works.
Yeah, so the cost of the credit report, I mean, it certainly varies based on what specific a la carte items each company would like on it. We can get you a full, we can get you all a full proposal right through our proposal system. We have a great proposal system that we do completely online. We email it out to you. You're able to click on it and view all of our costs. The borrower who orders the report through Stop My App, they would pay the cost of the credit report that the company is paying. So that's what they would pay. I just in tabbing through a couple of questions, I saw one quick one on there about, is this cell phone friendly? And the quick answer to that, and that's a quick one we can answer, is yes. They can order this right through their cell phone or iPad or whatever you have. So
portable media devices, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, just a couple of quick things that I want to share with you just before we hit the top of the hour here. And then, Paul, I know you've got a pretty busy schedule, as do I, but we can probably hang out for a few extra minutes. One last thing I wanted you guys to do really quickly here. You've invested 45 minutes to an hour of your time at this point in today's training program. My challenge to you all as a coach is, take the initiative to do something with those time. I mean, you hear the old cliche, knowledge is power. Well, the reality is knowledge powerful if you don't do anything with that knowledge? The truth is knowledge only becomes powerful when it becomes acted upon. So the first thing I want you to do is before you take that next call or before you hop into that next email, go ahead and take 30 seconds to create an action plan for yourself. Ask yourself, one, what was the most valuable thing you heard in today's program? Two, what are the steps you need to take from this point to get it implemented, to get that idea up and running in your business? And in this case, if your first action is set up the Start My Application system so that you can start having that that robot mortgage experience, that high-tech impact approach, well, the first step may be to reach out to the Avantus guys and get in contact with them about how to get set up. Either way, take action. Map out the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps that need to be done to get that idea implemented in your business going forward. Third is put some target deadlines to that. Set some specific milestones and by when you'd like to have certain steps accomplished. That layer of additional accountability, putting a deadline on it, our activities tend to expand to the time that we allot for them. And so when we've worked over the last 15, 20 years, several thousand clients, loan officers, and branch managers, and mortgage executives that we put through our coaching program, if we don't put specific deadlines on stuff, they get done at the last minute, right? We as an industry tend to be pretty, pretty predominantly procrastinators. So put some teeth in it for yourself. The fourth thing you do there is share that action plan with somebody and ask them to hold you accountable to those deadlines. Ask them to check in with you regularly as you make progress through it, particularly if it's one of your business partners that you're working with in kind of that running buddy relationship. It's a powerful way of getting things done. There's actually a study that was done in 1998 by Brigham Young University that said if you do these 4 things, if you set a goal, create an action plan, put deadlines on your actions, and share that with somebody and ask them to hold you accountable to that timeline, you have a 95% or better chance of accomplishing that goal. And so that's what we want to challenge and encourage you to do. By the way, if you'd like more information about Maximum Acceleration, our coaching programs, and what we offer, the best way to find out what we offer is take advantage of our no-cost and obligation strategy session. You can find out more by going to the amexcelcoach.com/strategy website. Register for that, or if you'd like a strategy session, just go ahead and pop in the best phone number and email address for a coaching strategy session. Like I said, there's no cost or obligation. We found that the best way to help you understand the value of coaching is experience it, and that's why we offer those strategy sessions. They are booked on a first-come, first-served basis, however, because we only have a handful of them available each week. Anyway, so I guess we can hang out and answer a couple more questions. The last thing I would encourage you to do, guys, those of you listening to this program, make sure you engage Avantus. Check out all the great tools and resources they have to help you skyrocket your mortgage business. And then I guess there's 1 or 2 more questions in here, Paul, that we wanted to try and tap out.
Yeah, and just and I see in tabbing through a few folks have asked for a proposal. Rest assured, we will get on that and get that over to you very quickly. One question that I just saw, and this comes up quite a bit, is so what happens if my borrower flunks the questions? What happens if they don't answer those challenge questions correctly? And that's a great question, and happens. And the simple answer is you still get the credit report. So in other words, as long as that credit card is good, that credit report is run, it's in your system, you can still take that lead and contact that client. So again, it's similar to the Bureau's websites, the annualcreditreport.com. Some of those questions are pretty specific, and if it's an older trade line that might be on their file, they may have forgotten about it. So rest assured, if they don't pass, if they flunk the questions, you still have access to the credit report. No issue whatsoever.
Wish I had that option with Free Credit Report or annualcreditreport.com.
It's happened to me as well on there. Then one other question I just saw. He says, so what happens if I'm the LO and I'm away and I get that email notification, and I don't see it? Well, that's a good point, and that's a good question. And what we've done is we've created the ability to send that notification so when that borrower has completed that Start My App application, triggers the notification, we can actually have that go out to multiple folks. So what a lot of our clients end up doing is not only does that notification go to the loan officer, it may go to maybe a processor in the back room. So in that instance where that LO is out of the country, he's not checking emails, it's not going to get overlooked. That's somebody who's interested in getting a mortgage with you. So we can have it go to multiple contacts, I guess is my point.
Yeah, and keep in mind you could even leverage like a branch manager, sales assistant, and you could have all 5 of them receiving it at the same time, basically, to determine who's going to handle it. It's also a great idea if you find yourself in that situation, if you're preparing to take a real vacation as a loan officer and you don't have a junior loan officer or sales assistant who can handle the intake. It's always a good idea to tag team with one of your colleagues or buddies in the company or in the office. You cover for them when they're on vacation, they cover for you in kind, and it ends up working out pretty well for most loan officers that way. Let's see, any other questions that we need to address here? Any other comments that have been posted so far that would be good to make sure we take care of? There was one posted in here that would be, how would the customer know that this report is better than the free credit report from like a robot mortgage, or the other free credit reports like Credit Karma and those kind of places?
Yeah, well, and I guess that's a valid question. I mean, I think that comes down to educating them up front and letting them know, hey, this is a real inquiry. This is different than those sites in that this isn't a consumer looking to find out what their credit looks like. This is a borrower pulling their credit in conjunction with a mortgage loan application. So this is a hard inquiry credit report that they would need to know. They're in clicking on that confirmation box, they're acknowledging that. They're acknowledging that it is your company that's pulling the credit that's pulling the credit report on them. So yeah, so it's totally 100% different than than those free online credit reports.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, and Paul, this might be something we want to potentially look at, is guys, keep in mind these are linked to your existing websites, right? You guys all probably have some sort of promotional or educational website, so you're always welcome to post some sort of article or information. And keep in mind, especially with the millennials, they want education, they want resources and information, particularly if they're at that just dipping their toe in the water thinking about buying something years down the road type mindset. They want that information and education from you, and that would be a great tool or a great white paper or article, blog post to create that answers that question and gives them that information about how this is a far superior report to the kind of report they would get through any of those other resources. And again, it's also another opportunity to work in conjunction with your business partner to create more of a nurturing and incubation warm-up style of campaign and marketing approach that goes along with and dovetails into this tool, which gives your clients or potential clients a resource that they won't get from any of those other online robot mortgage providers.
Correct. Absolutely.
Right? All right, guys. Well, I think we're getting pretty close to done here. With questions, Paul, if there's anything else you see that you want to jump in on, feel free. Otherwise, I think we're pretty well close to ready to kind of shut this down and close on out. Again, one last time, guys, I strongly encourage you to think about putting Start My Application and the Avantus tools in your arsenal to help you significantly improve your business, your value to your business partners, and your ability to multiply your business exponentially, skyrocketing your mortgage business. With that being said, Paul, any final thoughts for our group today?
No. I think we appreciate you, again, you folks taking some time out of your busy schedule. We will definitely get through the question and answers that we have not gotten back to, and anyone who's looking, who's indicated they want some additional information, we will get that out to you very quickly.
Absolutely. And guys, from all of us here at Maximum Acceleration, myself included, if there's anything I can do or my team can do to help you accelerate your business growth, that's our only goal, is getting you from where you are to where you want to go as fast as humanly possible. So please reach out to our team. MaximumCoach.com is the website. You can find some additional information on our website at the mxlcoach.com/strategy website. Otherwise, we wish you all the greatest success, and I look forward to seeing you on future episodes of the webinar series.
See you, folks.